get your hands together to welcome Clarissa Rayward.
Thank you so much, everyone. I am not 27. I have not owned a gym. I occasionally go to one, not now. And I am very pregnant. And so John's team are being really cautious. They wanted me to come up the stairs with the arm thing and the water's over here and do you want the stool, which I really appreciate. But it is what it is. So I am a divorce lawyer. I run a practice called Brisbane Family Law Centre, which is surprisingly here in Brisbane. It's a multidisciplinary practice. So I have a psychologist within my law firm. I have financial planners that consult to my law firm. Because if anyone in this room has themselves or has friends, family, anyone around you go through a divorce experience, I won't need to tell you how difficult that is for anyone going through it. And for me, having a multidisciplinary practice where I can bring together different skill sets to assist people going through that has been really, I guess, the key to the whole thing. Tonight I wanted to talk to you, and I've called it with the benefit of hindsight. I'm 10 years into my business this year, so I've made many mistakes. And I think hindsight is such a wonderful thing when we can look back and say, if I had my time again, would I have done it that way? And there's many things perhaps that I would do differently. But what I do want to say to you is I think it's the mistakes that make the successes. So but for the mistakes, many of the things that certainly for me have been the game changers would never have happened. In terms of my story, so I am a divorce lawyer. I specialise in working with families going through separation that want to stay out of the family courts and ultimately want to remain friends. So for me, it's really working with people that are quite committed to often their children, to that bigger picture question of what do I want for my family in the future. In the last few years, I've probably worked with over 2,000 different families all around Australia. So whilst my business is based in Brisbane, the model we have enables us to work with people nationally, which is incredibly rewarding. When I set up my practice, though, 10 years ago, I was 30, so I'm giving away my age there. And this was, I think, what I had in mind, was that I'd start a business and I'd go to the beach. And the business would work, and I'd look that skinny, and yeah, life would be really great. And I learned, I think about 3 weeks in, that that's not how business operates, and it requires a lot of energy. And 10 years down the track, I'm still very alive to the fact that it requires a huge amount of energy. Now I run a practice that has a team of about 15 employees, of which I think there are 2 that actually work on premises 5 days a week, 8:30 to 5. In an industry like law that is known for long hours, quite an inflexible business model, we do have quite a different approach. We have pretty much everyone in our team working on some level of flexible, part-time, remote, whatever it might be, arrangement, which is also something that I'm really proud of, but has taken a lot of work to achieve in an industry that's not known for that. Interestingly though, those of you who's running a business at the moment, like most people in the room, has anyone reached a point where they're like, I don't want to go to work in my own business? Yeah, that was me about 5 years ago. So that was the first time I had a child. So the irony of this statement is falling quite heavily on me right now. I'd had my daughter. I was running my practice. When I set my practice up, I thought I had a very clear vision about how I wanted to do things. I wanted it to be different. I didn't want it to be a traditional law firm. I wanted to operate in a way that actually helped people. And 5 years down the track, I found myself not wanting to go to work. I found myself with a team that wasn't necessarily delivering what I thought we should be delivering. And that's not a great thing when you're in charge of the business and you don't want to go there yourself. And I really describe it that I found myself in a very unhappy place. And by chance, at the time that this was happening, I must also add, I had a young child, newborn. Anyone had one of them? Did you sleep? Yeah, I didn't. There's always someone in the room that has had a child that actually slept, and that is not me. So I was really struggling in that sense as well, like trying to work out how do you manage being a mum, wanting to be a mum, wanting to spend time with your daughter, but at the same time trying to run a practice. It was not an easy thing for me to achieve at the time. So lack of sleep doesn't help, I must be frank with you in that. But I, by chance, watched the movie Julie and Julia. Some of you may have seen it. Amy Adams is in it, and she has a food blog, and she spends a year writing a blog, working away through a recipe book. I can't cook. So running a food blog was clearly not going to be a success for me. But by chance, I did a bit of Google searching and worked out that blogging was a thing, and it was a useful thing, and it was a useful thing in terms of content marketing. And I started a blog called The Happy Family Lawyer, with no thought, nor business purpose, nor direction at the time. I think benefit of hindsight, it was me saying to myself, you're actually a pretty lucky person. You live in Australia, you have a good family, you have a business, like pull your socks up and let's see the positive, not the negative. So I started blogging on a weekly basis about issues around divorce, about love, about heartbreak, about all of these sorts of things. And as I did that, I started to grow a really big community of people that were connecting with the stuff that I was writing. Also, what started to happen is my business completely shifted. So the people on my team that perhaps were not necessarily aligned with my values started to leave. I started to attract people that were incredibly aligned with my values, with what I was about. And the whole thing shifted. So over the last 5 years, the practice has completely changed and is now delivering what I set out to achieve, all thanks to this silly little blog. I now, in that transition, started obviously to write also about my own experience, finding my way through the stress of the work that I do. In the legal industry, the rates of depression, anxiety, and psychological ill health are very, very high. It's said that 1 in 3 lawyers at some stage will suffer some form of a mental illness. And that, for me, working in a profession that I'm really passionate about, is really concerning. So as I started to write about what I was doing to sort of change my perspective on the work that we do and how we do it, I had lots of lawyers reaching out to me saying, "Hi, Clarissa, I really like what you're saying. Can you tell me what you're doing? Because I feel a bit like you did and I'm trying to get my way through that." That led me to do a lot of work in positive psychology, in neuroscience, in happiness. And now I spend most of my time, yes, I run a divorce law firm, but I actually spend most of my time coaching lawyers in happiness, which is just ironic in its own way. So I now have a business, Happy Lawyer, Happy Life, which I've had for the last, I think it's 2 years. At the core of that business is a book, Happy Lawyer, Happy Life, a podcast that I run called Happy Lawyer, Happy Life, very consistent theming, it's just easier that way. And a series of courses, workshops, programs, and an online membership for other legal professionals all over the country, where we can come together and learn about business. Because the other thing that's happening in the legal industry, if anyone is in the room, is massive change and disruption. So the business, entrepreneurialism, all of this stuff is happening in an industry that has been so reluctant to change. There are many women coming into my industry, there are many niche businesses forming in my industry, and it's lovely to be a part of an entrepreneurial legal community that is shifting an industry that's been quite stale for a long time. I too have a video. My clothes remain on at all times. So it is far less exciting than the video that you've just watched. I'm saying that right now. But I hope it better explains the work that I'm doing at the moment.
Happiness, I think, for me is just it's a feeling of joy, of contentment. And using practices like gratitude, being mindful of how I use my time, looking for good rather than worrying about things that are out of my control, has made a massive difference to how I feel. I'm Clarissa Rayward, and I guess I'm best known as a divorce lawyer. I love my family and my friends and my parents, but I particularly love chocolate. I love dancing. I love gourmand clothing. There's not much I don't love, actually. I came to law because of the capacity that law gives you to help others. And I do get a great deal of joy out of the work I do, which perhaps sounds ironic, given that I'm working with people in one of the most challenging times of their lives. The more information that I can give families going through separation, or that I can give lawyers, is hopefully, again, a way of making someone else's life just that little bit easier. Who I am and what my values are and how I see the world is what drives how I operate in my business as the sort of lawyer that I am. The older I've gotten, the more comfortable I have got in my own skin, the easier it's become for me to create a business and create a brand around the stuff that I enjoy doing, but that I also have seen is the best thing for my clients. For me, it's the capacity to work with people. It's being able to help people through a really difficult point in their life. At the end of the day, life's about relationships, about people, about experiences. It's not about things. Something that we're all short of these days is time. So being able to invest the time in the people and the experiences that you love is key to happiness.
Thank you. Kept clothes on. So tonight I wanted to share with you 3 things that I think, when I was reflecting upon my 10 years in business, what have I really learned? What are the things that perhaps if I had my time again I would change? And hopefully that are helpful to you. So my first statement to you is self-belief is so essential if you're going to start your own business and continue running it. There'll be plenty of people that will tell you why it won't work, why you shouldn't do it, how not to do it. And it's really, really important to back yourself and back yourself all the time. And had I not done that from the outset, I can promise you I wouldn't be standing here right now having this conversation with you. It is your saviour. It is the thing that will make the difference, but it will be forever challenged. And it's really up to you who you surround yourself with and who you listen to and what advice you take. But it will completely shift what happens for you. My second thing that I really wanted to say is it takes a village. It absolutely takes a village to run a business. Unless you're one of these amazing solo operators that can do it without a team and without a husband or a wife or a nanny or whatever you need to make your life function. But who is in your village will also be key to your success. And we just heard that from Sam and Ben, like them calling upon some amazing people that have obviously shifted things in their business. For me, when I look back 5 years and things were not great, I can assure you that there were people in my village that were not aligned with what I want, what I believe in, what I stand for. Now I am surrounded by a community of Brisbane business owners, entrepreneurs that are doing cool stuff in areas that have nothing to do with law. And I think that's probably the other thing I'd say. Surround yourself with people that do things so differently to what you do and be inspired by what they're doing and bring that into your industry. And that's how you'll create change. That's how you'll be different to the others. Thirdly, let's be real, life throws you setbacks. Just when you think that everything's rocking and your business is going so well, the strangest things happen. And for me, that happened 2 years ago when, I received a phone call from my brother telling me that my youngest brother had committed suicide. It was ironic at every level. I'd just launched a podcast called Happy Lawyer, Happy Life, talking about depression, talking about mental health, talking about all of these issues. It was Mental Health Week. It couldn't have been more on point. That experience completely changed our business at the time, had some significant financial impacts, absolutely changed how I see the world. But these things happen to all of us. Everyone in this room, at some point in time, has something happen that was unexpected, that was unplanned, that they can't change. And it will affect your business. So I describe business, just like marriage, as having seasons. It can't be spring all the time. And you've got to work through those moments. And that's when it is so important to know who is in your village, who is helping you through it, who is supporting you, because it's so important. That's all I wanted to share with you tonight, so thank you so much.